Blessed to be a part of your day. Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio. Don't forget, two big events this week. Thursday morning, Ed's 50s Cafe in Meridian, supporting the PBR, supporting Western values. And Friday, promoting our school, securing our future, brought to you by Cap Ed Credit Union. We're going to be at CWI. Looking forward to seeing everybody there. Always a great time at CWI. And by the way, our newest sponsor for Promote Our School, Secure Our Future, Pacific Office Automation, now in Boise. Pacific Office Automation, problem solved. Check them out today, pacificoffice.com. Joining us now from Numbers USA to talk about another caravan coming to America that you're going to be paying for on, well, your dime, is Chris Cheminsky joining us from Numbers USA. Chris, good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
So, what's going on? We've got more people trying to get into America. I thought we'd cut them off.
Yeah. This is the administration is trying to do what it can, but especially this newest caravan is coming from Central America. The number of migrants that are leaving Central America to try to make it into the United States continues to grow. And now that we're through the rougher summer months, you see caravans like this pop up. This is actually the second one this year, the second big organized one this year that's originating from down in Honduras. But what'll be different from this one compared to past caravans is there are a number of changes that the Trump administration has made over the last couple of months. So this is really going to be the first time that these changes are going to be tested by a caravan like this, should it reach the U.S.-Mexico border.
Now, what's the deal with the press? They never cover what these folks cost us coming into our country: medical, health, welfare, employment, taxes. All we ever hear about is the sob stories, and it's almost as if one country, Chris, is bad, America, never mind Honduras, Mexico, and the usual suspects.
Yeah, and it's really unfortunate because, number one, they talk about, they were so quick to jump on the stories over the summertime when the Trump administration was separating families down along the border. But they never talk about this is not a safe journey. When you're coming up from Central America through Mexico, especially as you get closer, you get past the more developed areas of Mexico down near Mexico City, and you start heading up into the desert and the wilderness of the just south of the U.S.-Mexico border. This is land that's controlled by terribly violent drug cartels. These are not friendly people. It's not a safe journey. That's part of the reason why they're coming up in caravans, because they feel they have more power in numbers when they reach the territory that's controlled by the cartel. But they missed that part of the story. They missed the part of the story about how, what are these governments in their home countries doing to try to improve the situation down there? They don't talk about the brain drain that's occurring in these countries where here are folks that are willing to work and improve the situation in those countries. But no, they're just leaving to head for America instead. So there's so many different angles that the press is missing. Instead, they want to focus, as you said, on the sob stories and the treatment that these folks will receive should they reach the U.S.-Mexico border.
And yet we still have our friends in the media that continue to say that America should be an open border country. How much does that cost us to be an open border country?
It's in the billions, the amount of money that it costs taxpayers. I don't know the exact number off the top of my head. I think it's around $139 billion, and that's to educate the children of the folks that come here, both illegally and legally, for that matter, but mostly illegally. The tourists and the temporary visitors that overstay their visas, the costs of birthright citizenship, illegal aliens having children in the United States who then become automatic U.S. citizens, and their parents basically stay by default because of that fact. So it's costing U.S. taxpayers billions, and that's after you consider what they pay into the system, because they are paying they may not be paying income taxes, but they are paying sales tax. They're buying things. They're paying fees. If they're registering cars, they're paying car registration fees. So they are paying a little bit into the system, but they're not contributing nearly as much as they would need to contribute just for U.S. taxpayers to break even. Again, when you consider the services that they receive, maintenance of the roads that they drive on, again, education of their children, things like that.
Chris Jablonski joining us, Numbers USA on KIDO Talk Radio. What about a state like in the West, an ag state like Idaho? You have a lot of people lobbying for immigration reform. Lindsey, they're calling him Gramnesty again. Chris, you cover this all the time. You know the issue better than us. I guess
right.
First, what does it mean to a state like us?
Yeah, well, it is. I mean, it's a big part of the economy in some of these big Western states, and upper Midwest states include as well some of the border states. I mean, the second largest economic provider in the state of Florida after tourism is agriculture. So agriculture is a huge industry in the United States, and there are a number of farm owners, hundreds of farm owners that do struggle to find day laborers to work out in their fields. And that's something that I'm sympathetic to, and the organization that I work for, Numbers USA, we're sympathetic to that. And in fact, over the summertime, a bill was put together that would completely reform the agricultural guest worker program to make it easier for ag employers to use the program to get the workers that they need when they need them. That bill was actually helped. It was drafted in part by Raul Labrador from Idaho, who contributed especially to the agricultural part of it. But it ended up being the Western Growers Association that opposed the compromise that happened to be in that bill. So there are a lot of farmers who are on board. Again, there can be a guest worker program. There is a guest worker program. There's actually an unlimited guest worker program right now for ag workers. But there are some issues. There are some reforms that can be made within it to make it a little bit easier for farmers to access the workers that they need. But at the same time, they also have to be willing to make some trade-offs. Usually the trade-off, this biggest stumbling block, is mandatory E-Verify. At the end of the day, farmers don't want to use E-Verify because they don't want to actually check to see if whether or not their workers are legal or not. They're okay with using illegal workers, and that's a problem that needs to be addressed.
That's such a great point. We could solve this problem simply by instituting E-Verify everywhere, right?
Yeah, and that would help. That would help a little bit with some of these caravans that are coming up. It certainly, we believe, is the biggest deterrent to stopping future illegal immigration is to require all businesses to use E-Verify. Right now, you already have federal contractors are required to use E-Verify, and in about 14, 15 states, there's already an E-Verify mandate on the books. So U.S. Chamber of Commerce is behind using E-Verify. And it is. I mean, that's the biggest reason why illegal aliens come to the United States in the first place, is because they know that they can obtain a job, because there are employers in the U.S. who are more than happy to hire illegal workers over American workers. So if you mandate E-Verify, it takes away that jobs magnet and reduces the future flow of illegal immigrants coming into the United States. But again, the biggest roadblock now, we've seen big business come along. There are still some small business groups that oppose it, but certainly the biggest obstructor of mandatory E-Verify right now does seem to be the ag community, although there are some of the big ag groups have signed off on E-Verify. Like I said, it's mostly the Western Growers Association, which is huge, though. That covers all of California and I believe Arizona's agricultural regions as well. That's blocking E-Verify right now.
And, is there anything that we can do to put pressure on these governments to stop these caravans? Chris, I know you mentioned earlier at KIDO Talk Radio that the president is starting to put pressure on these folks, but we don't. And you've detailed just how dangerous this is. This is just not like going for a walk in your neighborhood. This modern day Trail of Tears, if you will.
Yeah. The one of the best things that an administration can do, and it's not something that past administrations have done, but we have seen this now with this current caravan. Trump put out a warning just the other day to the president of Honduras and said, stop the caravan. If the caravan gets here, we're cutting off all foreign aid to Honduras. And that's a strong move. Actually, foreign aid to Honduras in past years has accounted for about 1% of their total GDP. The $65 billion, I guess it is right now, that Trump is threatening to withhold from Honduras represents about 2% of their total government revenues down on Honduras. So it's a big threat for Honduras to not get that foreign aid rolling in. And we have seen it have an effect over the last 24 hours. We've now heard that the president of Honduras has actually called upon the caravan to turn around and head back. He's pleading with them not to head to the United States. Much of the caravan has already broken through Honduras and made its way into Guatemala. But from what we've heard, Trump is putting the same kind of pressure on Mexico, and Mexico has sent reinforcements down to the Guatemalan-Mexican border to try to stop the caravan before it gets into Mexico. In past examples of caravans like this, Mexico has typically given these folks like a 30 to 40-day visa that actually allows them to traverse the country and reach the United States. And then if they overstay that 30 to 40-day visa, then Mexico comes down hard. But Mexico is now saying that they're going to deny these people their visas. And there's a little bit less social pressures in Mexico than you have here in the United States. They crack down on illegal immigration pretty hard. So if they break into Mexico, I think is going to be pretty tough. And that's why I say, there's a strong possibility that this caravan may not make it all the way to the United States. Certainly the Trump administration is doing everything that they can to block it before it reaches the U.S.-Mexico border.
Well, Chris, if people want more information from about Numbers USA, what can they do?
They can visit our website, numbersusa.com, and you can also visit us on Facebook, facebook.com/numbersusa.
It was great talking to you today. We loved yapping to you at FAIR in D.C., and keep up the great work, sir.
Hey, thanks for having me.
All right, that's Chris Chmielewski joining us. Kevin Miller in the morning. Coming up next, we're just moments away from Bill O'Reilly joining us. You don't want to miss that interview. Only on 107.5 FM, 580 AM, or like we like to call it, KIDO Talk Radio. And blessed to be with you, Kevin Miller in the morning. Coming up, Bill O'Reilly. Phone number is 580-5436, 580-KIDO. So in Meridian, from the Statesman here, months of tension between neighbors and developers came to a conclusion last night when Meridian City Council voted unanimously to approve the design of the new Costco on West Chinden Boulevard and 10 Mile Road. Now, maybe you have this issue in your neighborhood. Maybe you live in Caldwell or Cuna or Nampa, Meridian, Star, Middleton, and in Boise to a degree, downtown, I suppose. Just the massive amount of people moving in, and we've debated this issue. But over yonder there, you've got a Fred Meyer, you've got a Walmart. Do you really need a Costco? Costco's been trying to move into Meridian for years, and it shows you the development. We're going to have one in Nampa, we're going to have one in Boise, and one in Meridian. But unless the city planners, or maybe it's even almighty ACHD, maybe we should just blame ACHD. We seem to blame them for everything. I don't know who's involved with the roads, but to figure out how to manage this growth, it's funny, we had, 5 mayors from the Treasure Valley when they all agreed, well, the roads are bad. Well, what did we elect you to do to solve our problems? I'm always of the belief that when you go somewhere, you're hiring someone to do the job. Like in real estate, I've had good real estate agents, well, maybe one. I've been through, 6 or 7 homes. And I've had horrible real estate agents. And you hire someone to do a job, not to be a goof. And I'm not saying that the mayors are goofs, but, I mean, we hire them to run the city. Okay, if it's not them, maybe it's the county commissioners. Okay, if it's not them, maybe it's ACHD. But you can't keep putting these massive amounts of, these ornate tributes to our secular drive for consumerism. Yeah, I don't even know the definition of the words I just said, so don't worry about it. Without the roads to allow the people to and from. It's just utterly crazy. Look at Midland Boulevard in Nampa. They need a light there when you get off the highway. It's crazy. That's, the equivalent of 10 Mile now in Meridian. So at 580-5436, 580-KIDO. And by the way, when we see our great friend Dr. Alquist, he had to reschedule. We will have him on, and we'll ask him about this. He's building a new thing off of Chinden in Meridian. And then you have the neighbors and everybody else coming together, but do you really need more and more? Now, look, I'd like a Buca di Beppo, if you've been to Salt Lake. You know what I'm talking about, over there by the arena downtown. It's a great Italian restaurant. But not if it's going to clog up the roads. So I'm just thinking, where's the planning here? Well, Costco wants to come in. Is Costco going to spend money to turn Chinden into a 4-lane instead of a 2-lane? It's ridiculous. And more congestion means a lower quality of life. The other day, Mrs. Miller had to journey in from the hinterlands. She goes, I can't believe how long the drive is. Yeah, and it's getting more and more difficult for people. And that's what I believe, that if you've listened to this program for 2 days, 2 minutes, or almost 10 years, that, politicians have to get in the customer service business. I don't see that happening with this Costco in Meridian now, or the continued building. Hey, new business is coming in, more jobs. Okay, do we have the roads to allow people to get to and from? Every night during Sean Hannity, the Fly and Why, I'm sitting there on Franklin watching all of you stuck in traffic last night about 4:30, 4:45. Remember the old days? Traffic used to be a joke. It used to be so bad we would create issues to give us traffic problems. Now it's insane. And I wish that the people running for governor, and when Paulette Jordan isn't talking about Brad Little being her predecessor, would come up with a plan, a partnership, not for the rest of the state, because I don't care, but here in the Treasure Valley. This is where the big boys come in. When the big money comes in, they come in here. And sure, we've got great schools, although Paulette Jordan says they're bad. Sure, we've got our challenges. So does every part of the country. But infrastructure, it's the trouble alert. If you ever watched that old superhero show, The Justice League, no, not the movie, the cartoons that was on in the 70s and 80s, there was a thing called the trouble alert, and it would beep when there's a problem. That's the problem we're having right now. And there doesn't seem to be a lot of solutions. We continue to build. We continue to build more homes, and then we talk about impact fees. And then we talk about, as conservatives, the government getting more involved. Somebody has to say, we're going to do this. Remember a couple years ago with the gas tax? Governor Otter saying, well, we're going to put it in the roads. How did that work out? And the reason why I mentioned Governor Otter, because he's the leader. How did that additional gas tax revenue impact our roads? I don't see it. You've got this new proposal, from ACHD that's going to raise, the rates on registration. And the vehicles over 8,000 pounds are exempt from it. Those are the ones that tear up the roads. So where is someone saying, before we build this ode to opulence, and everybody loves Costco except for those people that work at Walmart and Fred Meyer, and I get that. Shouldn't we have a plan? What is it? If you fail to plan, you plan to fail? I'd like to hear from you next. I know it's not as riveting as whether or not the guy should have been fired for posting photos of the dead baboons, but we'll get to that. Don't forget Bill O'Reilly just around the corner. Traffic and weather together. Some people say I sound like an old man complaining, and maybe you're right. But, there has to be some forethought into this. And look, I'm not anti-growth. I think it's going to be great. But on the other hand, there has to be a plan. And I'm not talking about the private industry. You know who would have been perfect for this? And I will tell you this, would have been Dr. Alquist. He's out building and stuff, making commitments to the community. But if he were governor, and remember, he ran a great campaign, we were big fans of his, all of a sudden I bet that he would have had some type of, and lack of a better word, a Marshall Plan for the Treasure Valley for the infrastructure. And let's hope that Brad Little follows Dr. Ahlquist's lead when it comes to building and working on the infrastructures. I know he's committed to that. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Maggie.
Good morning, Kevin.
Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio. Phone numbers 580-5436. 580-KIDO, waiting on Bill O'Reilly. Let's go to Liberty Linda. Good morning, Liberty Linda.
Good morning. I didn't know if Bill O'Reilly would be taking calls or not.
Well, it'll probably be a very quick segment, so I guess you'll have to settle for me.
Well, that's a great person to settle with. Well, maybe you could ask him if his Irish genealogy takes him back through Yoki or Tara Tamar.
Well, I don't even know if I can pronounce that stuff.
Anyway, that was one question I had for him, or try to find out if he's still going to, if he has a desire to ever go back on television.
Well, you're just asking all the big questions.
Well, I'm a question person.
I see.
Anyway, I've tuned in. I'm excited. I'm always excited about your show, and I'm excited to hear, Bill O'Reilly, wonderful Bill O'Reilly, be on your show. I mean, that's the best show to be on. So,
well,
anyway.
I appreciate that. He spends a lot of time with Glenn Beck.
He does? Wow.
Well, he's usually
right.
on Glenn Beck like once a week.
Right. Well, everybody on this station, Fox, are great people. They're all wonderful to listen to, but of course we're kind of partial to you.
Well, I appreciate that because that justifies my existence to the corporate overlords.
Well, we love you, Kevin. Anyway, I didn't know if you were going to take calls for Bill O'Reilly, if we could call in and speak to him or not. But,
well, the way it's working, I don't know if I'm going to be speaking to him. This is what we call in the business the stall.
The stall.
Yeah.
Anyway, if he does come on, perhaps you could ask him that question, where his Irish background takes him to.
Every time somebody says Irish, I always just want to go, Eva Begoria, whatever. I get one of those goofy things. Yeah.
Well, Tara Tamar, she's the, write that down, Tara Tamar. She's very important in the Irish line. And so that was my question. So she's one of my grandmothers, so I was wondering if perhaps I was related to him.
Well, we will see if we can remember that.
Tara Tamar. She's kind of a special person through the Irish line.
Really? Well, all right, yeah. Liberty Linda. We appreciate the call.
We always have to get this news out, on your show, right?
Well, if not me, I don't know.
It's the important questions to ask.
And you ask them.
Okay, I'll be the first to ask that question, I know.
Probably the only person.
I know it. Anyway, excited to hear you and Bill O'Reilly.
I'm excited too, but this could be a rough 10 minutes. We'll have to tune in to see if he shows up.
Oh, I'm sure he will.
Well, that's one of two that you're thinking he's going to.
Okay, well, we're positive thinkers. We have to be positive in the world today, right?
I so agree with that. Thank you very much.
Well, we love you and would listen to you if Bill O'Reilly comes on or not. So,
well,
it would be nice if you did.
I think it'd be you and my mom and my wife would be that in that camp. So,
well, hey, that's two great people to be with. I love both of them. They're wonderful.
Well, we love you, Liberty Linda. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Kevin.
All right, bye-bye. 580-5436, 580-KIDO. How about that, Liberty Linda? She was ready to go and had the question for Bill O'Reilly. So we are waiting for Bill O'Reilly, and we will hopefully get him on. And look, we're committed to that. We're also committed to the PBR. Tickets this week available Thursday morning at Ed's 50s Cafe. We will be there Thursday morning promoting the West and certainly Western values. You don't want to miss that. Phone numbers here, 580-5436, 580-KIDO, Kevin Miller in the morning. And while we're waiting for Bill O'Reilly, we will do this. This is why it is live radio. There was a big move at the White House over the weekend. Prayers were answered. Pastor Andrew Brunson, who appeared for the first time on our great show, Sean Hannity's show, last night after being released from Turkey. He was held for over 2 years, accused of espionage. And you remember Pastor Said? I don't even think Obama had Pastor Said at the White House, did he? Who was held by the Iranians. Well, if you missed it, let's take a listen here on how this Christian man kept his faith.
When I was arrested and it kept going on and on, I've been accused of trying to overthrow the government. What was surprising is that they told me that I was being held for terrorism. For part of that time, it was a very crowded cell, and part of the time I was also in isolation, so it was a very difficult time. I had never really considered prison as a possibility and counted the cost for that. The truth is that we had been preaching Jesus Christ there. That's why we were in Turkey for 23 years up until that time, is to share the gospel of Jesus Christ with Turks. We've done that openly and never had a problem. It seemed that there was no way out, and I lost a lot of hope. I was treated well by the prisoners I was with.
And they were not of your faith?
They weren't, and that was one of the very difficult things, is that I was isolated by culture and by language, but especially by religion, and it was very difficult to be the only Christian among them.
You imagine that, being the only Christian in a world surrounded by your enemies and such. And this man kept his faith and his home. Amazing. By the way, we are efforting Bill O'Reilly. We did promise that. We will work on delivering him to you coming up hopefully between now and the end of the program. 580-5436, 580-KIDO. But until then, I've been saving this topic because this is a Treasure Valley favorite.
At least 109 legal pot shops are expected to open up today across Canada, with many more to come in a social shift promised by Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and fueled by the desire to bring the black market into a regulated and taxed system that's expected to generate billions of dollars in annual pot sales. Canada's new policy stands in contrast to the U.S., where for now marijuana is outlawed except for states that allow medical use or recreational marijuana for people 21 and older. Jeff Manasso, Fox News.
Well, there we go. You can have another vacation destination. Those of you that are in favor of smoking the pot, smoking the marijuana, if you will. Canada goes to pot. Jeff Manasso bringing the hammer down, if you will. And, you know, I think we just need to partner with the good people from Drug-Free Idaho. We need to partner with people that each and every day are on the front lines to keep America clean and safe. If you were watching that debate the other night, I know you weren't. Sunday Night Football, the Patriots versus the Chiefs. Some of you actually read books. Maybe you're listening to George Norrie. Maybe you're listening to Art Bell from the old days. Exactly. Maybe you're doing something else. But during that debate, Brad Little coming out and saying, you talk to Oregon, you talk to California, you talk to those folks everywhere, and they will tell you the social cost of marijuana. They will tell you the issues involved with people on the roads smoking the weed, people going to the clinics, parks being literally taken over by a clan of cannabis promoters. And then you've got the crime involved with the legalization of pot. And it's funny, they have this thing called Hemp Fest. Used to be a lot bigger. And I was invited to it. The lieutenant governor was invited to it. Paulette Jordan, who all of a sudden is pro-weed, was invited to it. She showed up. But maybe we need to have a pro-drug-free event. And I'm sure the folks that do a wonderful job at Drug Free Idaho do, because it's not easy to be drug-free. Kevin, what about your high blood pressure medicine? Hey, that's regulated. But because of the popular culture. Hey, if it looks good, let's do it. No, not at all. And then you have the libs in Canada just going crazy. It's wrong. And I don't know if you heard about this, but coming up after the midterms, it looks like the president is going to urge the Department of Justice to crack down on all these states that are legalizing. And I got to tell you, I can't wait till the United States of America decides to put things and look things in the proper perspective. It is simply wrong for states to legalize something that there's a federal law against. On the other side of the equation, I know what you're going to say. Well, you know something, Kevin Miller? If the Canadians do it, why can't we? What's the harm in smoking a joint? Next, with Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio.
To be part of History 1 and to finally see the end of the social stigma that surrounds cannabis users. I like to call myself a connoisseur, and that's what I'll be known from now on for the rest of my days. I'm a connoisseur, not a, stupid stoner.
There we have it. Canada legalizing marijuana. Should Idaho be next? Phone numbers 580-5436, 580-KIDO. One of the things that we've learned about the lieutenant governor is it ain't happening under his watch. And during the public television debate, you have Paulette Jordan saying that she would do that. She's not going to do anything. Look, even if Paulette Jordan would win, she's not going to do anything. The Republicans control the House and the Senate. So she can literally or figuratively ride on her horse to the Capitol and say she's going to do things, but it's not going to happen. Anyway, back to this point of legalizing pot, I think Canada has made a grave mistake. And Canada is kind of like America light. They'll never be what we are, never be what they could be. And the idea of legalizing an illegal substance, and I know what people are going to say, well, Kevin, in there, in the 1900s, marijuana was legal. Well, yeah, so were horse and buggies. But we've grown from that. Well, opiates were bad. Well, the big pharma controls everything. Okay, let's take a look as we have before. In states that have legalized pot, have their quality of life improved? Has the quality of life in Oregon, in California, in Washington, in Colorado improved? In fact, the feds are looking at cracking down on Colorado because it's just gotten so bad. And, most of the time, unless you take the bus, or one day maybe when we have a tram between Caldwell and Boise, or Mountain Home in Boise, maybe we have some type of public transportation, then you'll have to sit next to somebody like a stranger. You ever been around someone that, maybe they were just working out, maybe they forgot to use their deodorant, they have just bad BO. Bad BO. Or someone who's a smoker, like a heavy smoker. And you can always tell heavy smokers, no, I'm not talking about the vape people, but heavy smokers, because they're either using a ton of cologne or they smell like the Marlboro Man. Imagine sitting around someone who's smoked weed and it's legal. It's just an aerial assault on your senses. Well, Kevin, that doesn't mean that we can't legalize it in Idaho. And people say, well, medical marijuana. And I have, like probably all of us, we've had family members, close friends who have benefited from medical marijuana. But how do you differentiate medical from recreational when you have people that doctor shop? And by the way, would you want this guy as your neighbor?
To be part of History 1 and to finally see the end of the social stigma that surrounds cannabis users. I like to call myself a connoisseur, and that's what I'll be known from now on for the rest of my days. I'm a connoisseur, stupid stoner.
Right, we would never call you a stupid stoner. But you ever want to make a lot of money, you could either go into cannabis or the quote-unquote adult entertainment world. A lot of money to be made in that. States like Nevada, California, they have that legalized. But if you want to stick to a code to live a good life, a life that you'll leave a lasting legacy, you don't get involved in those things. 580-5436, 580-KIDO, traffic and weather together. Let's get you to work safely and on time. Kevin Miller in the morning here. All right. Still waiting for Bill O'Reilly. Hopefully he'll join us between now and 9 o'clock. Don't forget, coming up on Friday, we're going to be at the College of Western Idaho. That's right. Oh, you're going to love this one. Well, it's my mistake, Rehemiah. It's my mistake. Bill O'Reilly is next week, next Wednesday. And, you know, if you, it takes a big person to say that they messed up. So here we have a live moment on radio where I messed up. It wasn't the computer's fault here. It wasn't, certainly it's never Rehemiah's fault. He is more diligent than I will ever be when it comes to this radio station and this program. But it was my call. It was my call. I made a bad call at the line of scrimmage. I was so excited to get Bill O'Reilly on that it's next week. It's next Wednesday. So bad on me. I was a bad K. Millie. Eric in Cuna, good morning. You're on KIDO Talk Radio.
Hey, morning, Kevin. Hey, I pretty much agree with everything that you talk about on your show and whatnot. But now, if you believe in the Constitution, just as I do, because I know you do, let's look at individual freedom here in America and what it exactly means. It means that I and you individually have choices that you can make when you buy something. I don't tell you what kind of car to buy. I don't tell you what kind of alcohol to drink, if you drink alcohol or not drink alcohol. I don't tell you not to do it, to do it. It's personal choice. And that's what the Constitution means. Now, I know that your argument is, well, it's federally illegal. Well, when the law was created, the lawyers, the wonderful politicians, and whenever in the 30s or whatever, they didn't really, all the laws are supposed to reflect the principles of the Constitution. And we know that there's so many laws and regulations that don't reflect those principles. Now, I don't think it's anybody's right to tell somebody that they can't consume a plant. It has so many uses. It's curing cancers of all kinds. You can't deny it, Kevin. You just can't deny it.
Wait a minute. You're saying marijuana cures cancer?
Yeah, cannabis oil has been curing cancer. Also, I'll tag into some links on Facebook to some news links, some actual real studies. Look it up.
But if it was
Talk
curing
to Tea Party
cancer,
Bob, he'll tell you about it.
Oh, Tea Party Bob tells me a lot. But I just wanted to repeat that because we're going to throw that out to the crowd, to the crew, Eric.
Okay.
All right.
But my biggest argument is not okay. That yes, there's so many. I mean, yeah, look all that stuff up. But
all right, Eric. I apologize. We got to go.